What is up everyone, and welcome to a quick look back at my ultimate desk setup. But more importantly, I'm going to talk about the last 5 weeks of use with this setup since the project has been 100% completed. Now, I have been using triple monitors and a few other elements of the desk for months and months now since I started the project, but it's only been about 5 or 6 weeks since I fully completed the Ultimate Desk Setup project. If you haven't seen that series of videos already, I highly recommend you go back and check them out. Now, the reason I'm making today's video is because I never did tell you if I'd achieved my goal. I never did answer the question, is it really my ultimate setup, and has every single decision that I made, has it worked for me? So today I'm going to talk about a few things that I like and a few things that I dislike about this setup. But one thing that I will say right at the very beginning is yes, this setup is definitely ultimate to me, and in terms of my budget and weighing everything up, this is extremely ultimate, and I am so pleased with what I've been able to achieve. So this is a very quick look back at the project, the things that I like, the things that I don't like. I hope you guys enjoy my rambling about my usage of my ultimate desk setup. So the first thing to discuss is the centerpiece of the entire thing, and that is the triple monitor setup. For those of you who don't know, the center monitor is a Dell U2412M, and the two outer monitors are Dell 2009W monitors. Now, these two different types of monitors are very different. They've got a lot of years between them, and a lot of technology has changed in that time space, but the 2009W monitors have still held up really well. I can't see them being with me forever, and you know, it's already in my thought process to maybe change them out, but for now they are doing really great. They're all 16:10 monitors, and the center one is 24 inches and the two outer ones are 20 inches. That's 1920 by 1200 in the center, 1680 by 1050 on both of the side monitors. So that's quite a bit of screen space. It's not loads and loads of screen real estate, but there's quite a lot of workspace for me to have lots of applications open, lots of windows open. It's very convenient. Now, I like triple monitors a lot. I was a massive fan of dual monitors, and I'm an even bigger fan of triple monitors. The reason I like having 3 monitors is because it gives me the use of a primary display back. When I used dual monitors, I was the kind of user that used both displays as one. I never had a primary monitor. Some people have one monitor in the center of the desk and then they put their secondary monitor off to the side. I wasn't like that. I had them both equal in the middle and I used it as one. With triple monitors, it means that I can now have a main display back, which is very nice, because something that I don't like is the lack of symmetry with the dual monitor setup. You've got to have your dock on one display or whatever, or you've got to have your one display as being your main display. Now, of course, on Yosemite, that's all slightly different, but it still stands. One display has always got to be your main display, not just in your computer's eyes, but in your eyes also, no matter how you try and ignore it. It's a little bit different in the Windows world, and with things like NVIDIA Surround and AMD Eyefinity, that's all a little bit different, but I'm speaking from an OS X user, and not from a gaming standpoint, from more of a productivity standpoint. Now, I'm very happy with triple monitors as a whole, and I'm very happy with the amount of screen real estate that I have. So let's talk about mounting and the way that these monitors are sitting on the desk. The center one is sitting on its own stand, but it's height adjustable and it's a very tall stand. I have it at the max height, and I would love to be able to achieve a little shade more height, just maybe 1/4 of an inch, but it is okay. And I've got the side monitors on Duronic monitor arms, which are very good. And as you can see, I have both monitor arms hidden behind the speakers, so it does look very clean, and it gives the illusion that the two side monitors are floating. Even though the two side monitors are quite old, it still looks like a fairly new setup. Some people say that my setup looks retro, but you know, I guess the word retro means different things to lots of different people. To me, because I've been, you know, doing this whole computer setup thing for quite a few years now, to me this setup does look pretty current, and I am very much enjoying using it. Let's talk about the downsides of the monitor setup then, because even though this is my ultimate setup, there are downsides. The obvious downside is not all 3 monitors are the same. Now, one thing I wouldn't do is have 3 mismatched monitors, like totally different, you know, with totally different resolutions and stuff. The fact that the 2 outer monitors are the same as each other kind of makes up for it, because I've got my main display in the middle, as I mentioned, and that gives me 2 side displays to do whatever I want with. That doesn't really make a big difference, but if all three had the same resolution and the same screen size, then that would make life a little bit easier. Think of when you're dragging a window from the center monitor to a side monitor. That window has to be physically made smaller if you want to have that window filling the other screen as well. Now, thankfully, if you use full screen applications and mission control, this isn't a problem because the operating system will scale it for you. But if you're like me and you like to determine the size of all of your own windows manually and leave them there, but you'd like to move them around in different situations of productivity, then you will need to do a bit of window resizing if you have different resolutions on your monitors, of course. Now, there's not a colossal difference between 1920 by 1200 and 1680 by 1050. The numbers don't even sound that different, but when you're actually using it, coupled with the increased actual panel size, there is a fair difference. It's a different class of monitor entirely. So, unfortunately, I don't see my workspace as one giant canvas. I see it more as my central canvas and then my auxiliary canvases off to the side, if that makes any sense. Now, I would love to have 3 monitors the exact same, but unfortunately to buy 2 more of these Dell U2412Ms, that would put me a little bit out of pocket, and it's fairly pricey, to say the least. So at the moment, it's not worth it, but if I ever have the opportunity to do that, and if I ever find a really good refurbished deal or whatever, then I will do so. But, of course, I have to buy 2 at the same time. I can't just buy 1 and then buy another one, because I'll have a very lopsided setup then, and I'm not happy with that. The very last thing I'm going to mention about the triple monitor setup is one more slight dislike that I have, and that is, of course, the fact that the monitors themselves, not just in resolution and size, but in panel type, are totally different. The center monitor is an LED IPS monitor, and the outer 2 are just normal TN panels lit with normal backlights. So they are very different. They're different in warm-up time, they're different in color temperature, they're different in color accuracy, and they're different in every way. And the 2 outer monitors aren't even the same as each other. There's a slight difference there too, especially because I got one running on VGA, but that's a limitation of my graphics card. So this is not a massive problem. It would be something that would really annoy lots of people, but it's amazing. If you spend a lot of time at your computer setup, it's amazing how quickly your brain can adapt and start to compensate for the differences between these surfaces. They all look the same to me in day-to-day use unless I'm really thinking about it, and that's pretty good. Obviously, I can tell the difference between all 3 monitors. I mean, everyone could. But when you're using it, it's not a noticeable thing that bugs you constantly. So, all in all, the triple monitor setup, I am really pleased with it. It's an awesome upgrade over dual monitors. It's just absolutely fantastic, and I'm so glad that I bit the bullet and went for it. So let's quickly touch on audio and video. First, let's talk about input. I have got the legendary Blue Snowball USB microphone. It's of course not the best microphone in the world, but pretty popular in terms of USB mics. And next to that, I have the Apple original Firewire iSight camera, which is definitely a little bit of a relic by now, and by today's standards, but it is still pretty cool and I love the look of it. And of course, my bandwidth doesn't allow me to stream in anything higher than about 200p anyway, so the quality is just fine for me. What I want to talk about, rather than the specifics of this webcam, I want to speak about positioning, because what a triple monitor setup allows you to do versus a dual monitor setup is have a central place for your webcam. Now, like I keep saying, if you're one of those that uses a dual monitor setup, like one main display and one secondary display, then you're fine because you've got one display in the middle anyway. But because I had both of mine at an even position, so right in the center I had the 2 bezels, there was no easy way to mount my iSight, and I used to gaffer tape it onto the back of the other 2 monitors, and I actually had it on a tripod for a little while, gaffer taped to the top of an old tripod, which is taking up a lot of space back there. So this is infinitely better, and now that I have the proper mount, it is much better than anything I've ever had before. And it's nice to have a proper angle on the webcam. It's a decent sized lens for where I sit, so you know I get my face in frame but not too much, and it's overall pretty ideal. And then of course, in terms of the microphone, the original Blue Snowball tripod is extremely inconvenient to use on any kind of streamlined setup. It's very bulky and there's no ideal place to put it. You can put it in front of you, but then you've got the USB cable dangling all over the place and draping over the keyboard. It's really not ideal. So having it on this stand here is great, and even though it's a cheap stand, it's still very good quality. You know, I saw a couple of people commenting when I first unboxed this stand saying, "Oh, that's a terrible quality stand. I would have gone for something better." This is a really great stand for the money, and it has served me so well. As you guys know, I've been doing a lot of voiceover work lately, and it has been absolutely fantastic and a pleasure to use. I'm not 100% satisfied with the Blue Snowball itself. I think it's an overhyped microphone, but it sounds okay with a little bit of EQ, or should I say a heavy hand of EQ, and I definitely need to get a pop filter for it. That is one thing that it really does need. But having that mounted on the back of one of the monitor stands is really, really great and so convenient. I can just pull the mic down or keep it in an omnidirectional pickup pattern and have it sitting up there next to the webcam if I want to get more of a room sound or whatever. It's absolutely great and it works out fantastically. Finishing up on audio, let's talk about something that is perfect on this setup, and that is my speaker setup. I have this Creative system that I've had for years and years, and I love it. I've recently added the Creative X mod into the mix, which is a brilliant device. I really like it as a sound card. It is much better than I thought it would be. And it's nice because it brand matches my speakers as well. Not a lot of things in my life match, so that is really, really great. Everything sounds perfect. This is a brilliant sounding system. It's meant to be a 5.1, but I use it as a 2.1, and it's very effective, and it's got multiple inputs, which is handy. I use one for my N64, and I can use it for the computer, going in the KVM switch, all sorts. It's great, and I do not want to change these speakers anytime soon. This is my favourite looking keyboard of all time. I think the Apple USB keyboard, this white one with the USBs in the back, I think it looks stunning. I love the fact that it has no bezel. I think that is just marvellous. It's got this see-through casing, it's white, it's pure white, and it has no bezel whatsoever. It's just keys, it's everything that you need. I love it. But the only thing it doesn't have is a very nice typing experience, and I type a lot. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not horrendous. It's not like a really cheap membrane PC keyboard, but it is, however, a membrane keyboard, and it is just not very nice. So, rubber dome, I want to kind of ditch it and move on, and I would love a mechanical keyboard, but of course they're very expensive. And I'm going to get a Mac one just so I get a command key and stuff, because I am such a Mac user. That does mean a lot to me, even though, you know, your Windows key can get remapped and all that. I don't really care. I'm going to look out for a Mac mechanical keyboard. The one that I've got my eye on is £118 at the moment, and I cannot justify spending that. But some days this keyboard does really, really annoy me, and it is quite a slow typer as well. I believe my maximum I've ever got on this keyboard is 118 words per minute, or 108 words per minute, I believe. And I know I could get at least 15 words more out of the Apple aluminium keyboard, and definitely, hopefully, about 25 to 30 words more out of a mechanical keyboard if I'm lucky, because I'm a very, very quick typer. But this keyboard does hold me back, and because of that I do sometimes get pains in my hand, and I've spent a lot of money on this setup, making it as ergonomically good as possible, if that makes any sense at all, and the keyboard is holding me back a little bit. The mouse, on the other hand, is absolutely fine. This is nice because it's big, it's got a left click and a right click and a scroll wheel, and it tracks nice and smoothly, and that's all I need. This is the Logitech GX 518 or whatever it is. I never know what it is. I don't think they make it anymore, but it is blinking great. And you can actually see over here in the corner my new card reader, which is working out very well. The only thing is it's very lightweight, so it doesn't sit on the desk very well. I've actually got some rubber mesh and Velcro on the bottom to try and help that out, but it's not really helping. But it's sitting there, and it's USB 3.0, so once I get my Hackintosh up and running on the setup, that'll be really great as well. One thing that everybody loves is the Mac Mini server shelf, and it's definitely something that I will be going over more in the future, because a lot of people ask about the Mac Mini G4, which isn't currently powered up. I'm having some issues, but I will go into everything in much more detail. One thing that I love about this is I've got plenty of Ethernet ports, so this is actually an Ethernet cable that I've patched in just for testing purposes with the Hackintosh. And talking of patching, down here is where the other awesome improvement is, and that is the free available stem of the KVM switch. So any system that I use, this is going to the Hackintosh at the moment, any system that I use whether it's testing or fixing or whatever, I can plug into my computer setup without fumbling around with any extra cables. I just plug it straight in. The only thing I need to buy is a little VGA to DVI adapter, so that if the machine is VGA output, I can use that with the KVM as well. But this gives me keyboard, mouse, video, audio and network all there just by patching in 2 cables, which is great and so convenient. I've been absolutely loving that. And while we're down here, I'll just talk a little bit about the cable management. Of course, it's still looking excellent in comparison to how it used to be. It is much better looking, it is much more safe, and it is fantastic being able to power everything down effectively in the night. The right things power down and the right things stay remaining switched on for 24 hours a day, which is exactly what I wanted, and everything works out really well with those surge protectors as well. They're quite good. So let's finish with some quick notes about the desk in general. One awesome thing about having the monitors properly positioned is my posture is now excellent. It's not perfect, but it is 10 times better than it used to be, and I care so much more now about how I use my desk because of the amount of hours that I spend here. I can easily spend 6, 8, 10, 12 hours at a time sitting here, so it's important that it's comfy. Now, from the things that I've described, as you guys can probably tell, I'm extremely happy with everything. The only things that I'm not happy with involve a lot of money to change them. That is, buying a new keyboard and replacing the 2 outer monitors with 2 more U2412Ms, which is all going to be very expensive, and all in all over £500. And I've already dumped loads and loads of money into the Hackintosh and the desk setup and everything to do with the computer setup. I've dumped so much money into it in 2014 and early 2015 that I really can't justify that, but I hope that there is some light at the end of the tunnel somewhere, and I may be able to treat myself to at least a new keyboard very soon, which would be great. Now let's talk a tiny bit about the desk, and then I promise I'll let you guys go and enjoy your weekends. The desk itself is great, but unfortunately the condition is now a little bit rough. I do everything on this desk. I eat, I drink, I solder or attempt to solder, as you guys saw in part number 3 of the Hackintosh build. I fix PCs, I put things together, I break things down, I take things apart, I clean up consoles. I do everything on this desk surface, and I'm surprised that it's in such good condition that it is, but it is quite beat up. That's not something that generally bothers me, but a new desk is in the works, and if I ever do get a new desk, I think that, not in this room, but in most other rooms, a standard non-corner desk would be better for my setup. This does look really cool, and I love corner desks, but because I've had one for so long now, I just really want to change, and I think I want a normal rectangular desk to see how the triple monitor setup works with less of a rake in the monitors, so more of a singular flat surface. Not totally flat, just not as angled as these are. So that is something that I'm very intrigued about. But anyway, that is an update to my ultimate desk setup. I wanted to make this video, I was desperate to make it in fact, because I never did give any final thoughts after doing the video and the Tour of a Geek's Desk video. So it's really great to be able to tell you guys what I like and don't like about the setup. But hopefully you guys can tell that it's been probably one of the most successful projects that I've ever done. And it has helped me so much. So I'm so grateful for the ability to be able to do this. And anyone that donated to this project in any way, I am so thankful. So a massive thank you for watching, everyone. I really hope you like my setup. This is probably the last video in ages where I'm specifically going to talk about the setup itself until it drastically changes again anyway. So it's been really nice doing this. It's been an awesome way to start 2015 and carry us into the sort of next third of 2015 because it's now April. But this was so much fun, and you guys gave me so much support. I really appreciate it. So that is my desk setup and my opinions. I use it very comfortably and very effectively, and yes, it is definitely the IMNC Ultimate Desk Setup, at least for now. So thank you very much for watching, everyone, and of course I will see you in Monday's video. Have a fantastic weekend.